I will start off with this, and that is saying that knife crime is a very big problem in the UK, specifically in London, but really just all over. Some countries have guns, some countries have acid. The UK had a big problem with acid just pre the lockdowns, and then it kind of went away, but knife crime has been rampant in the country for many, many years, and it's something that needs to get sorted out, okay? The government needs to step up. They need to be more aggressive in how you prosecute people who have knives or people who commit crimes with knives. It's not about, stop and search, and it's not about the intricacies of how that works. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about people who have knives, people who commit knife crime. They need to be prosecuted to the max so that people carry less knives in general. Because if people see, oh, Billy from the block ended up going to jail for 6 years, it's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't carry that knife. Shouldn't do that, should I? Because he's been locked away for 6 years just for carrying a knife or just for threatening someone with a knife. I don't know what the main solution is, but there needs to be something more done because Tyson Fury's cousin just got stabbed in the neck and sent off this planet. He's no longer on this planet. And I thought that's probably where we should start with the video. Yeah, there are probably two big questions coming out of this fight. Number one, where's AJ gonna go now? And number two, is Tyson Fury gonna fight Alexander Usyk? Those are two big boy questions. Two questions that could have ramifications in heavyweight boxing for years to come. The answer is number one, I don't know. The answer to number two, I know. Tyson Fury is gonna fight Alexander Usyk to become unified, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Something that hasn't been done in over 20 years, I believe. And I think, in my opinion, when he does that, because Tyson Fury will beat Alexander Usyk, I can't wait for that to be clipped when I'm wrong for some reason, somehow. But I do believe Tyson Fury is gonna win that fight if it happens at any point. He will become the GOAT, in my opinion. I think he would have done enough to be warranted that title. I think he is the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Some people will argue others. I know there have been many, many greats, and I've not lived through them all. You look at some of the big boys from the 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm not going to say that they were trash because some of these guys were absolute monsters. And a lot of them were considered the greatest of their specific generation, that 10-year time span that they had, that 20 years even. But in my mind, Tyson Fury is the best of all time. And the way I would frame that is by saying he would beat every single heavyweight boxer there's been throughout history. He would beat them all. And because of that, I would say he's the greatest of all time. I'm not saying his achievements in the ring really come up to a Muhammad Ali, an Evander Holyfield. Maybe they do. But I think that the fact he would destroy every single other heavyweight boxer in the history of the sport, in my mind, means he is the greatest of all time. But AJ versus Usyk was a decent fight. I think it went the way a lot of people thought it would go. That was Usyk winning on points pretty comfortably. The question I have is how one of the judges ended up having AJ winning the fight. I don't see that, even if I wanted it to happen. It was nowhere near being an AJ win. I had it 116, 112. It did feel like the commentators were very, very skewed in terms of the way they were scoring the rounds. They were saying Usyk's basically won every round. I'm pretty sure they probably had it at, 118, 110 maybe. They had it on that type of level. And when the judges' scorecards got rung out, I said, wait, AJ won on the first judge's scorecard? It was nuts. But AJ did have a better performance in this fight than in the first one. He was better in basically every single way. He didn't gas as quickly as in the first fight, even though he did gas. He put together some combinations, even though he didn't put together that many combinations. But he was just too boxy. He wasn't moving enough. He wasn't ducking. He wasn't jabbing too much. It was like he was a fridge. Not under any circumstance is it good for you to be a fridge. Very hard to move, very bulky, but, I guess he threw a couple of good punches in the fight. He won a couple of rounds, but Usyk just outclassed him. He made him look like an amateur because AJ isn't really a traditional heavyweight fighter. He's not a traditional fighter. He came into it at a late age. He did very well at the Olympics in that amateur realm. And then he came to the professionals, and I don't think he was really primed for it. Then again, what do I know? Because he is still a former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. But he did look very ordinary against Usyk. Usyk just put out so much output. He is so efficient with the way he boxes, the way he moves. And AJ did tag him a few times. Sometimes a bit low. But the problem was Usyk looked like he was playing for half the fight. Joshua should have done. He should have been clinching much more. He should have been pushing his weight onto Usyk to tire him out. And he just didn't do it enough. Which is something I didn't understand at all. You need to do that if you have the extra weight. Something I didn't like was the way AJ handled it after the fight. Now, I understand, okay? I do get it. Emotions running high. There's a lot of stuff on the line here. But you can't do what AJ did. He has bad people around him. People said it in the commentary afterwards, in the reviewing. Someone should have taken the mic from him. Someone should have just pushed him to the back if he was not in a good headspace and said, this is not the time for it. The only thing I can think of as an excuse is that maybe he was concussed. Maybe he had a concussion, and that definitely wouldn't have aided the situation. Usyk, I mean, he handled it like a champ. He sat back, waited, even though it was really his time and he should have been on the mic saying what he wanted to say. The thing which really shocked me most was the fact AJ threw the belts out of the ring. Like, you know, you bleed this sport more so as a former heavyweight champion, as a former champion in this arena. And just to have the blatant disrespect because the decision didn't go your way and it shouldn't have gone your way because you definitely lost that fight, it just leaves a sour taste because AJ has been framed as this media darling. And I've never believed it because he's had a rough life. He's had a rough life. He's said it many times. And the more they try and just polish him off, I feel the more he's going to break in the long term. The guy was throwing out F-bombs, swear words in a country where you can be handcuffed for swearing in public. So he's obviously got away with that one. But it just felt weird that he decided to do that at that moment in time when it wasn't his time and it was someone else's. Because you're not champ. He's the champ. And then he came back into the ring and said something along the lines of to Usyk, you're not stronger than me. You're not better than me. So how did you win? It's like, well, are you blind? He's a better boxer than you. He outboxed you. You're not a great boxer. You're a great physical specimen. You are. And you're a decent boxer. But you were in there with arguably the pound for pound best in the world right now. Probably. Maybe you could say Tyson Fury just because I believe he's a better boxer. But Usyk's done it in multiple weight divisions. Because of that, I'll give it to Usyk. AJ, you don't need to do that type of shenanigans, okay? You're good enough. You're good enough. You don't need to prove anyone wrong. You don't need to prove the haters wrong. You've had a big career. You've done a lot in the sport, okay? You've done a lot. Maybe it's time for a little bit of a break. Maybe you go away for 6 months, a year. Maybe you fight Dillian White. Maybe you fight Deontay Wilder. I don't know. But I don't think a world title fight is on the cards for him unless Usyk and Fury are gone. The interesting thing is, Usyk said, I don't want any other fight unless it's Tyson Fury. Which, I mean, says to me, the guy has big balls. And he obviously has to. If, one, he was fighting on the front lines in a war, regardless of what you think about the war and the shit that's going on there. He has big balls to be calling out Tyson Fury like that because he's saying, that's the guy or nothing. And that insinuates to me that if he doesn't get the Tyson Fury fight, he might retire. But with what Tyson Fury said about coming out of retirement last night, it seems like this fight is going to happen. But then this is the thing. If AJ sticks it out for another year, 2 years, he could in all likelihood become heavyweight champion again. So it's just about what he wants to do with his life. It really is. If he has the hunger and desire to want to fight still, then hey, keep doing it. But if you feel like, I don't need to do this anymore, I don't need to prove anything to anyone, then go and live your life the way you want to live it, because you've made probably hundreds of millions of dollars and you can do whatever you want. You have that thing called FU money. And there's no point having FU money unless you tell people to F you once in a while, because you've earned that throughout the life you've led and the sacrifices you've made to be in the position you are. So AJ, do what you need to do. Do whatever you want, but please don't do something as stupid as what you did last night after the fight. Because I think most people looked at you as the fight was going on saying, he's getting tagged, he's getting hit, he's not winning this fight. But I respect it. But I respect what he's doing, because he's still going in, he's still putting up more of a fight than he did last time. And just to end it the way you did, it was subpar for you. For other people, if it's Deontay Wilder, you know, I don't expect anything less of him. You know, I don't expect anything more of him. But with you, I feel like people have a different standard, and maybe that's not fair. Maybe that's not fair, but it is what it is, and boxing moves on. It moves on. Tyson Fury, if he doesn't come out of retirement, it's going to move on from him. Boxing is going through a weird phase right now. There's a lot of transition players. There's a lot of people who probably won't be in it in 3 or 4 years' time who are at the top of their game. But that just means that people like Joe Joyce, Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois can actually make a name for themselves on the biggest stages of them all in the future. And that's how you keep churning out superstars and megastars. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes, but Usyk, congratulations. So while the fight might not have been quality shitty content, I can assure you, we bring that stuff on a daily basis, and there'll be more tomorrow, because it's what we do every single day. See you tomorrow. Skadoosh.
I got you! I got you! Take that, you freaking psycho! I got you!